Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 98 of Critical Reroll, where we will be talking about episode 22 of Critical Role. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dustin, at GeoNerd on Twitter, and I am built Ford tough.
My name is Jess, at go_JG on Twitter, and I'm into this new Ford Fusion.
And I am Kate at CMonster on Twitch, and it is time for a Ford Fiesta.
Woo! Oh my god, you guys. It's straight up Norwegian in here because we are all up in the fjords. I am sorry for everyone that ever has to deal with me. Right, so episode 22 of Critical Role. Oh man, what happened? There was so much stuff that happened. I really want to talk about a couple things. I want to talk about the caverns. That how much more was left? I mean, there could have been a lot more. Maybe there was a big bad down there. Who knows? I definitely want to touch on the fun that we had during the fight with the Blink. And then what ended up becoming some sort of competition between Molly and Fjord about blinking and things. And last but not least, I want to talk about Fjord.
I mean, I want to talk about all the cool god stuff we saw this episode. We, got to revisit some of the gods. I guess we kind of knew some of them already. Some of them we didn't know. Some of them they sort of revealed to us who they follow that maybe we didn't know before. And of course, I want to talk about the Traveler specifically with that. And also, I want to be part of the Fordcast. So let's go.
I want to talk about our super awkward, super fun little friends and all of their amazing awkwardness ever. And I too want to be on the Ford fun because hello.
I mean, I don't know if anyone watching the Twitch part of this podcast will notice that we are all in on the Ford fun here. I mean, come on. I'm a Ford fan.
Fordcaster.
And mine says, when the going gets tough, the warlock casts Blink. We made our own choice, you guys.
we might be nerds, you guys. We might be nerds.
Just a little. Just a little.
We're pretty terrible, what can I say?
But you guys are watching, this is what you're in for. Congratulations. So who wants to go first to talk about stuff? Do we want to just dive into the battle really quick?
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, we had a little bit of... We started off right after the last battle, and Fjord finding out that there's more. They kind of retreated for a while to have some sleepy times. Because, I mean, you don't go dungeon delving and lose all your stuff and then keep going. At least they were smart about that. So had some sleepy times. They had some talking. We can get into the wonderful pairs later with each one of the more sociable members of the Mighty Nine helping out those that might not know how to interact with human beings or
one sociable, one not so sociable.
Well, yeah. Yeah, the Caleb and the Yasha one was fun. But
they're all good.
They ended up going back, and we get into a battle with some more Murrow. I don't know. I always pronounced it Murrow until.
Mirai.
No, Mirai. Yeah. So my favorite part of this this battle was rough for a couple people. We lost Bo. We didn't lose Bo, but Bo went unconscious. That caster, the druid Murrow, that call lightning was pretty tough.
Yeah.
And the fact that a lot of them,
Wait.
They were in water.
Yeah. and the fact that they were fighting in the water gave them disadvantage. That was a big.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that was a thing that they realized was really happening until Matt kind of described it's happening. Yeah, so a couple of them kind of got stuck. Any parts of the fight you guys liked?
I think I like that we had Knot repeatedly every time it went back to Knot's turn. She was like, okay, I'll just wait a little longer. I'll just send a message to Caleb, and then like, okay, I've hid Kiri, I'm ready to go. Dips her toe in the water and is like, no, I need another drink. And like how long it took her to like finally head over there. I love that part.
Really playing into the Fjord water.
Yeah, I really like how.
Role play.
Yeah, and I like how Sam does. Like he rolls he rolled to decide whether she was gonna go or stay, and I like how Sam always just plays into the characters really well.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Uncle Luke in chat wants to talk about the luckiest bad perception check with Ford 2 versus Matt.
Oh, that's
1.
right. I forgot about
Yes!
that.
That's so true.
I mean,
good point, Ook.
We can. This episode could also be called "The Fall of Laura's Attitude."
Oh no!
Because like watching
She's
it,
pregnant, guys.
I know, but I meant like she was really happy. She was rolling okay in the beginning, and then she just kept rolling not great, and you could just see her get more and more mad at her dice. And
They were being bad.
they were being very bad. They were not working for
misbehaving.
her at all. My favorite was Ford. I always want to call Ford Bo for some reason. Was Ford's Blink, because this is just for me. I've had a character with Blink, and I think when I first originally read it 3 years ago when I started playing D&D, I read it and understood it wrong, and so I never used it. And this is, since most of the games I've played in didn't have a lot of casters, I was usually the caster. And so like I avoided it in my wizard, and then I watched Bo, I did it again. Watched Ford. I don't know why that's in my brain. I watched Ford cast Blink and use it like really well, even when he didn't want to go back. I think that's the point that I really liked was rolled, whoop, oh, I'm gone again. It was super fun. I'm like, why could have used that for so many crazy hijinks all the time?
Right.
But I liked that it always ended up with Ford coming in and killing anything that Molly was getting so close to kill. Like, Bo was just the Bo. I did it again. Ford was just that kill stealer in all of your games.
Shirt, Dustin, look down at your shirt.
George. God. It's just like the worst kill stealer in any game you've ever played. You're getting something down, and then someone else comes in and it's like, okay, see ya. Like, no! Super fun. I really liked the flavor of the blinking around. And I liked how it ended up turned into a rivalry between Molly and Ford.
Hey!
That was really fun. And also sad, but not unexpected, is to watch a wizard go down. Like Caleb did towards the end. And I don't know about
mushy wizards.
Yeah, I don't. Oh god, when Matt was trying to figure out what to do with the thunder wave,
he was super close to dead.
Oh.
I was terrified. I was I hope whatever, because we could see the little chest on the mini map. I was like, I hope there's 300 gold worth of diamonds in that chest up there, because that was a little too close. If they hadn't hit with that Sentinel, he was gone. Because I think Matt said on Twitter that his plan was to move, and the Thunder Wave would have hit Caleb, Bo, and Yasha.
Yeah, I think that's what he was like. I mean, he sat there for a while thinking about like what the Murrow was gonna do, and I think he wanted to get the two people at least that were really wailing on him away from him, so he had to reposition to get it all.
Yeah, the only way to get the two of them was to reconfigure, and that would have included Caleb in the area. Which is terrifying!
Yeah.
I don't like watching wizards go down.
Yeah. Like, Bo went down too, but she came back up real fast.
Yeah, I think they all managed to... It was a pretty good use of resources, too. I mean, they all managed really smart plays, except for fighting in the water and a couple things. But the spelling of that Call of Thunder, or Call Lightning, or whatever, that was pretty clutch, too.
But yeah, that Sentinel feat. Ooh.
Good feat.
Sentinel is a good feat. A lot of feats have really cool stuff, and like if you don't, I don't know, they end up like sometimes you don't get to use them. Sometimes you have feat and you feel like, oh, you know, it's a bit of a waste. It doesn't come up much, but then like some of them are so clutch, like they're so good, and like I know when I started playing D&D for the first time, I had no idea what the fuck feats were, and now I'm so glad to see like people use them and like watch people actually play with them. I think it's so exciting to see people actually get to use their feats. It's all I want now. When I level up, I'm like, fuck those stat boosts. I want feats.
It's always a hard choice.
Yeah.
Then like my problem always is like remembering that I have the feat. Like I have 2 post-it notes right here for my kobold. Just I keep post-it notes for all of the things that I always forget, and the more feats you end up getting, it's like, okay, I have that feat. But I also like feats because they add, especially as you progress through like a campaign, there's a lot of feats that you can justify taking for the things that have happened to you. So it makes a neat story wise of why you take something.
Yes. That's always a lot of fun. To have that sort of stuff. Oh, the fight that lasted a pretty long time. I was worried. Were you guys worried? Like I was worried about them going over there to this place. I thought they were going to be like really disadvantaged, and they had a hard. It took them a while to fight. Like what was it, 3 or 4 the first time, and then this time they had to fight like 5 or something. So I was a little worried for them. But they did get that long rest.
I think they fought 7 because 2 more showed up. There was 5 that
right.
was in there, and then the 2 showed up.
Yeah, because it was a good chunk. I don't think they took a break till almost closer to 10.
Yeah.
By the time
it was super late when the break broke. When the break happened.
And they had Callie the first time. Good point, Ook.
Oh yeah,
like they had a whole extra person helping them fight the last time. So that's why like I was so worried. But like no, they
2
did really
extra
good.
people because not.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, like Not was gone. She was gone the whole time.
So disadvantaged this time. They did all of it. They did really good for what they had. Can I just say?
Yeah. No, yeah.
Can we just acknowledge they did real good?
Everyone, let's take a moment to acknowledge that our disaster children came out okay, mostly.
They did good. Good job. Good. We love you and support you. Good job.
Good job. High five.
Yay.
So after the fight,
do we want to go back to the awkward childrenness before?
Oh yeah, if you want to, go.
Since we're on the awkward children and our disaster baby.
Yes, go ahead, Kate.
Yeah. So I love that they are mixing up more of who's talking to who in this campaign. That they're interacting a lot more with each other. Bo and Fjord are a fantastic pair. I love them together. I love that she has now latched onto him as her guru for all things. How do I interact with people I can't punch? I love them together.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting the other connection.
I wasn't either, but I can see where the Yasha Caleb draw came from, in that he recognizes her as this person who's slightly off to the side and not interacting with the other people as much as openly as, say, a Jester or as Fjord. So the fact that Yasha was like, okay, well, here's what you do. You smile and you chew with your mouth closed, and you wash your hair. Which I think on Talks, Ashley actually said that book that she keeps the pressed flowers in, that Yash keeps flowers in, the book was a gift from Molly Mock, and it is a book of manners and etiquette.
No!
So when she was reciting that kind of stuff, all that kept going through my head was, oh, she's telling him what she read in the book.
Oh.
That's
Oh my god, I love that so much. That's so perfect.
Yeah, I
Oh
wasn't
my
sure
God,
how that was
good.
gonna go when Caleb kind of interacted with Yasha. I just can't get anyone's name right tonight. But like I think he started off as like, you've been around like groups of people, like help
Right.
me, and I just remember thinking like, yeah, but like she's not just, she's just as kind of okay. This is gonna be good.
Yeah.
And he's
Well,
like,
I like that.
Good.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I just like that she addressed sort of like her own. He's like, oh, sometimes I like to stay dirty because I don't want to have to interact with people. People ignore me if I look like I live on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, okay, I understand that. She's like, I would prefer that too, but I'm pretty noticeable as like
I'm
as
hard
a
to miss.
woman. So that's why it's like good to just like do the basics of like keeping clean and like being polite and then when he was like, you know what, I would like a good shave. And
I
she
miss
was like,
shaving. Okay, let me shave you with my 5-foot greatsword. That's gonna go well.
I was so worried about that.
It's like, let me lay down. I was like, oh shit, she's got advantage.
Oh,
I didn't even.
yes!
That didn't even cross my
Sunday in
head.
chat said the same thing. Shaving the wizard with a sword called Magician's
Yeah,
Judgment
yeah.
was a bit nerve-wracking. Oh god.
Yeah. Like, yeah,
But
someone's gonna.
she did a good job. She did a good job.
Good job. And we have confirmed that Caleb has a butt chin.
Yay!
Oh yeah.
That
Show
was
proof.
super cute. I liked that whole. I liked the whole little camp. I think that's what I also love about D&D is, I mean, when you're in a campaign and you're fighting and you're doing all this stuff, a lot of the downtime just ends up being fun ways to interact with, whoever keeps on watch, and it's a nice kind of RP kind of thing to get things out, and I just love campfire RP, and this was a cute little campfire RP that turned into, I mean, they played the whole thing smart with the murder, like putting up the alarms, and we got a little break in the campfire RP with totally wailing on a Murrow, coming out of a hole. Like, yeah, that thing's not gonna survive that. Like, whack the knoll.
So at least they had one down before they went in. At least they like knew that. But yeah, then there was still more than what they were expecting. So thank goodness they got that one. Just quick and easy and over and done with. And only bad thing is it woke up poor Kiri, who sweared.
Let's just Kiri, this whole episode was super fun, and I think I can't remember who pointed it out on Twitter, but you can literally see Matt like take the notes of what people say.
Oh yeah.
And maybe it was in chat, maybe it was in Jess's chat when we were talking. I don't remember who said it, but you could just see Matt waiting for just the right moment to like pop in a new Kiri. Like, I mean, I love the way Matt plays with the mimicry of a Kenku, because like even in Volos, it talks about like, don't just make whistles and beeps and noises, because that's going to annoy your party members. Think of a cool way to like.
Yeah.
And
Matt, I only did.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No.
I did a Kenku in a one shot, and honest to God, was writing down every single thing anyone said so that I had phrases I could use.
Yeah, that's really smart. Yeah.
Which actually helped when we had to memorize a spell. But...
Oh, that is good. But speaking of which, since we did jump back, and since we are talking about Kiri, and we are talking about all this stuff, I love when Kiri repeated something that Caleb said when he thought it was just him and Yasha awake.
Yes.
And so it's already what some of us have been talking about and predicting, that Kiri is gonna be, if we get to keep her, she will reveal secrets, hopefully, fingers crossed, because that's just, that drama is too good to resist. And that Travis/Fjord was the one that was like Kiri has to die. Like, he literally sort of said that as a little side joke, which is so perfect because we know that friggin' Fjord has the most secrets to maintain. So he has the most to lose if Kiri outs his sleepy time talk nonsense. So I just want Kiri to give us accidental secrets like that. I just love it.
It's a great just wrench in the machine.
Yes, I want Fjord to be scared. I want him to be worried that she is gonna reveal him. I just love it.
So good.
It is. I'm excited for that.
Although I'm kind of wondering if Kiri, depending on timing, is going to be Laura's out for a little while. If
that makes
Jester's
sense.
gonna have to go, I'm gonna take her. She doesn't have anyone. I'm gonna take her back somewhere and try and find a spot while everybody else continues. While Laura has to
we know
go
Matt
on and take her own little bye-bye.
Oh, I think it was the joke during this episode was that, we're gonna make Laura go into labor, and Matt was like, no, we need to keep her for as long as we can. And we know that Matt has the history of giving outs for Ashley when she has to go away, and so, I guess that's gonna happen. It'll be interesting to see how Matt plays that out. Maybe they'll have just a permanent guest come in for a while.
That would be fun.
Ooh, that's a fun one.
But yes, Kiri.
I'm available. My summer schedule is much lighter. So...
Hey, Matt.
You're
listening.
Here.
We're good. Yeah.
Ook, you take that back. You don't put that stuff in this chat. No.
If you say that, you have to read it, Dustin.
If
This is an
Fjord
audio
is
podcast.
if Fjord is secretly evil, he could make her vanish in a puff of feathers.
Yeah.
No.
Wow.
That was part of my thought too.
The thing with I wanted to mention about the blank. With warlocks, I believe only Archfey and Hexblade have access to the blink spell as a warlock.
Oh yeah, I do not know that. I did not do my research.
Oh really?
Don't. I think that's true, but I'm not 100% certain.
Yeah, warlocks
That makes
confuse me.
sense.
I just
Makes
don't.
sense for him. I know. I've never considered a warlock because they seem very confusing to me.
I had a warlock up to level 3, and then we TPK'd, so I didn't quite get to do all the fun stuff.
I'm glad that Travis has decided to take on a challenge. I love that that's him in this. That's very much him this campaign this season. Oh poop. I was gonna say something and I forgot. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So do we think? Here's the question that I want to pose. Do we think, we know that they sort of collapsed we're kind of jumping around here, but that's what we do. I want to talk about the caverns. We know that, we could talk about what they were stealing later, but we know that they had dug up into the safe house and were taking whatever the gentleman was shipping. Do you think that they solved the gentleman's problem by collapsing that? When we know, as Matt had mentioned, that each one of those little side pools was going into separate caverns, were there more people down there? Were there more Marrow down there? Was there a Marrow leader that we don't know about? If they don't actually solve the gentleman's job here, that's not a good thing, because we know they're on a time crunch.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, this might just be me. I always end up projecting what I think Matt is thinking. I thought there might have been more intricate things to that. There might have been more mysteries to find in there. We don't know now because they're leaving. And what if it's not solved? What if there are a bunch still there and it's still a problem for the gentleman?
I don't think they weren't given very detailed instructions on what they have to do. They weren't told go and find the solution and resolve it all in all its intricate details and stuff like that. They were just sort of like, there's a problem, we don't know what it is, go figure it out. So they can report back and be like, this was your problem, here's what we did for you so far. They have a lot of information, they have a lot of stuff they can report back. It's not great stuff, but it was never gonna be great stuff. Like, it was never gonna be good, and that's not on them. I think they did the best of their ability. My only concern was, didn't they send one of their friends to that safe house and they never found him? What's his name?
Horace is supposed to be in Barrel Bend, isn't he?
So this would be the safe house in Barrel Bend, would it not? Would this not be where they would have found him? So if they never found him, and they were looking, every time they checked a body, they were like, do we recognize it? Do we recognize it? Because they were looking for Horace. But they never found him. So like you said, Dustin, what if like he was still to be found, yes, in like another place? But I mean, they were only going to stay here so long because like they have another mission they still have to do. So I don't know whether it's because Horace escaped, or maybe he wasn't at this safe house, or they just didn't find his body yet, and there is another cavern like you sort of proposed, maybe.
Metadox,
we have some questions.
Yeah, Metadoxy says the gentleman said he was in town, not the safe house.
Oh, okay, cool.
And they just didn't. I don't think they went around town enough to find anybody. Really, they went straight to the inn.
And
okay.
I'm kind of agreeing with the fact that, the gentleman was a little not too clear on his directions, but it seemed more, okay, we bought time for them to now go in, clean up their stuff, get their stuff back, and find a new safe house without having to worry about the Murrow being that close and attacking again.
Well,
and they know what they're dealing with now. They know what they're dealing with, that they can go.
But I am extremely interested in those caverns.
That's always me too.
We know they run through a lot of this continent because Matt has mentioned the underground tunnels back in, gosh, I can't remember in Zadash, when they were down in the sewers and they went to the other river when they were going to find. Oh gosh, I can't remember all the names.
Yeah, but
the other job for the
the gentleman.
For the gentleman, and he said if you continued on, you would have found this. So there is this really, really intricate system of caverns and underground lakes and underground rivers. My worry? He also keeps mentioning the Crawling King and giving us this not symbology, but allusions to this actual Crawling King burrowing through the ground. And we know there was this, big calamity, and there was a fight with the betrayer gods. Are these systems left over from that when the Crawling King was going and at his prime, or is this signs that something's on the move?
Well, and now we know that we don't know what all of that is, but we know that there is that giant lake. That river goes from Zadash, and it goes through to Barrel Bend and the Labenda Swamp, because that's where the gentleman runs all of his stuff out of, right? And these Murrow have some sort of system built in there. But we know that the gentleman, segue, is transporting odd things. And the question and I don't know, Jess, it was you that wanted to talk about the iconography and stuff that they found. But so here's my thing too, Uncle Ook made me think of it, and I don't know why I didn't put this together. Was the eye being transported too, do you think? Or do you think it was always there? Because Matt did say that pool that eye was in was salt water. And now my question is, was it a piece that was being traveled and went in there and changed it to salt water, or was that just been sitting there all these hundreds of years? And we can get that when we talk about Fjord, but we know that the gentleman is transporting weapons and iconography.
So we're not talking about the eye yet. We're waiting.
No,
on
let's
that?
let's just
Okay,
we're just gonna end with
just
Fjord.
Scott, you start talking about it.
I know. I realized what I was doing. And it's really hard not to just jump into
I know.
Fjord. So yeah, I'll dial it back a little bit. Put
It's
the tinfoil
fine,
hat
it's
down.
fine. Yeah, like you said, they find all that interesting religious iconography. Caleb, like puts his feelers out for magic, and he sort of feels that there's an enchantment on a long wooden box. They find that really cool sword, and I love that Caleb was like, this sword is for Molly. I love that he like delegated that he was like, and that Molly was excited because Dustin, you mentioned that you liked that there was a little bit of a fight happening between Molly and Fjord, and now Molly's like, oh motherfucker, it's on.
Yeah, when he like Molly's or Liam Talison's face when Liam said that it lets you blink through. I just love Talison looked right at Travis and was like, ha ha, motherfucker, yes. And I'm like, yes, I just want two people in this campaign for battles just going boop 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 boop.
Yeah,
booping makes
that's
battles
too
much more fun.
Nightcrawler this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like you were saying, also we have all the religious iconography.
So much, so many
so much stuff.
gods.
And it's so exciting. Like the first exciting thing was that like we were not. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I wasn't expecting Jester when Jester was like, "Do I see anything of the Traveler?" I was not expecting.
Yeah,
her to
I
find
wasn't
anything,
expecting
but
that,
he's
no.
like, "You do. You find like a nice silvery one, and then sort of like a tarnished bronze one, but like a little different, but it's very much the same." And it's like the way he describes it. He's like, "It's the archway, the door, and the path." Which I think is different than the usual, like, because there is a sort of traveler god in the D&D realm, but his symbol is like that weird skull with spikes pointing out of it like that. So why in this world is Jester's god, the Jester's traveler, have an archway or a doorway with a path through it? I mean, that's yes, Kate?
Kate?
You're like covering your mouth.
Kate, do you have thoughts on this matter?
Do you want to say something?
Because it's hard again.
So does that mean that Artig? Well, okay, we don't know it's Artigan.
Well,
It's
we don't
Artigan.
know, but it's been 20 years since this door was built. And Matt did say in the post wrap up that door was definitely built. They kept that part of the bargain.
Yeah, you don't mess with Archfey.
Oh.
And the symbol is an arch.
Mm-hmm.
Arch.
Arch.
I'm reaching here.
We're just gonna
overarching my reach.
And it's not iron. They're like, no iron symbols.
So my thing is like, if this is the Traveler, and I mean, for all we know, is that Jester is speaking through the Traveler. We don't know that there's any other I mean, there could be. This could be not just something that Jester made up, or that the Traveler wasn't just talking to her. Maybe the Traveler has been talking to like a few. I really like the idea that the Traveler has been talking to kids for 20 years as their imaginary friends and building this thing. But then that makes me wonder, what's the goal?
Well,
fun. Having fun.
Lonely children. I mean, okay, in a lot of like Fae story, like legend and lore and stuff like that. I mean, they do kind of steal children or stuff like that, but sometimes it's not evil. Sometimes it's just like you said, like sometimes they're just playful. Sometimes kids are more fun than stuffy adults. Okay.
Right. And Matt seems to be with what we found in the last campaign with Artigan. He was much more modeling him off of a Puck-like figure than something more sinister. So you have that much more playful aspect, the much more mischievous, which is why I could see him definitely gearing more towards children and finding them in these places where he has the opportunity to just go insane and just go crazy and have fun. And one of those symbols, he said, was tarnished. So that could easily have been from something towards the start of him arriving.
Ooh.
It's so
Good point.
interesting to have. I really want this to be a god that is like working, or a deity, not a deity, but like an entity that is working on trying to, become a greater deity. Because as I think it was King who mentioned that a god must have followers to get divine powers and grant them.
Yeah.
I just want them all to be tricksters, though. I just want that to be the thing.
I love trickster gods. I love trickster gods so much.
That's just fun.
So much.
And Ook pointed out that like there would have to have been a market for the gentleman to be making an effort to move and trade these objects. There would have had to have been some sort of a demand for them. So there are other people around that secretly are worshiping the traveler and want his symbols. So
And
obviously
also-
there's other.
Yeah, sorry, Jess, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead. And also,
But also not great deities. Like,
Yeah.
we're talking
Yeah.
about like the
Asmodeus and
I know, what's the full term for all of those guys?
Betrayer gods.
Betrayer gods, that's it.
So that brings me to my question: is he also working in Jorhas?
Oh.
I can see that.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem unreasonable. Like, I can't imagine it's that hard. Like, we imagine it's one of those ones where how it's been described so far, you imagine like a literal physical line where it goes from like bright and sunny to like dark and terrible, and like no one wants to
Isn't there
cross
like a
that
mountain
line.
range or something between them?
Yeah, but I'm sure
Yeah.
it's not a perfect line.
Right,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? I'm
No,
sure
I
there's
get that.
still like
Yeah. Well,
communities that trade back and
So
forth a little bit.
does he have a path into Jorhas?
Well, he's the one that set up
would be really exciting.
the gentleman? Or
Yeah.
Well, he's the one that worked to set up the attack, wasn't he?
What?
The drow?
The drow attack when they took the tower and all that. Wasn't that because
Was that
what's her
confirmed?
face
I don't
what's her face worked with him, and she was in the rebellion little group.
Right.
Encouraging it.
Oh, maybe I
No,
read
I don't
into
think
that.
I don't think you're wrong.
I thought he had
no.
made a comment.
I don't think it was his plan or his people, but I think
Axe Lobo.
I think you're right that like he knew it was sort of happening and didn't discourage it, like sort of helped it like grease the wheels a little bit, but even if it's not his thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Axe Lobo says gentleman didn't have anything to do with it. And I might have read a part wrong, but I thought he had contacts that helped them in
and
the
that
city.
I can see that certainly happening, even if it wasn't fully confirmed. It's very much that mob connection.
Well, yeah, like whatever's opportunity is opportunity,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
And if you're smuggling something, you're going to find. Not that I'm condoning any sort of crimes right now, people. I'm throwing that out there. You're going to look for the established routes. So you're going to go to the. Dustin, you're taking notes on.
Look for established routes.
So you're going to go. You're going to go find the drug dealers who are smuggling the drugs into the country. You're going to find the counterfeiters. You're going to find the people who already have the established ways in and out and work with them.
But also, like, the gentleman's doing okay with a little bit of chaos here and there can be helpful to, shaking things up in a very stuffy city can be beneficial to like an underground movement. So I mean, it's not bad for him either way to like let a little bit of chaos ensue. I don't
They
think that's
found
necessarily
a lot of those symbols down there.
Yes.
They said like 100 to 120.
Yeah.
That's super. Well, yeah, if you're going to trade, you might as well train high.
Right, but there was a lot of them.
Yeah.
There was a lot. And none of them were the official gods.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
the point,
those
because,
were
yeah, you're right, because
recognized
Yasha was like, do I see mine? And it was
Not-
like, no, because yours
Not
is...
Yasha, Bo.
Bo.
They found Yasha.
Bo!
They
Yeah.
found
Yeah, because
Fjord.
Did we know that Bo followed Ayun? Was that a known thing? Because I don't think
It's
I
the-
think it was assumed
It's
because
a
of the
Cobalt Reserve, does Ayun.
Yeah.
Okay. I like when she said that, I was like, oh, that's so
Because
interesting.
Arathis, Bahamut, Raven Queen, Paylor, Morden, and Ayun are the 6 officially recognized approved gods. But
Yeah.
they mentioned the Everlight, who's Saren Ray, Scale Tyrant Tiamat, Archheart, Corlon. I can never pronounce the elf-man name.
I'm still very interested
Yeah.
as to why the Dwendalian Empire has approved deities. Like,
because it's easier to get people to control people when you like restrict
well, yeah, I know, but like,
what they do.
what?
State-run churches.
Yeah, but my whole thing, like, I just like some of those aren't that bad deities, like the ones that aren't allowed, which I just am curious about why they picked the ones that they did pick. Anyway.
They definitely seem, yeah. I mean, like, you're like, well, why don't they have Melora? Why don't they have, like, these lighter gods? A lot of these gods seem pretty hard.
Yeah.
With the exception of Ayun, like, they definitely have this stronger forcefulness to them that almost matches that bleak, rough persona of the Dwendalian Empire.
The control, the more controlling gods, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense too.
Mm-hmm. That does make sense.
This empire seems intent on controlling every aspect.
Yeah, well, and maybe it has to do with some of the people they absorbed too.
Right.
To control that free thinking.
Yes.
You no longer worship this god; you have to worship, like the in the Light of the Seven with like Game of Thrones and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, even in real life scenarios, you could go in and completely assimilate those beliefs and be like, okay, well, sure, you had this god of judgment. Now here's our god of judgment. So you're just going to shift that into that one.
Yeah. That's very easy.
So,
I was just gonna say with Caleb and Archhearts, we hadn't heard that one before, and that was new and interesting. And the way he was talking about it, he was like, I think Matt said you find several, and he said, I want one that reminds me the most of what I've seen before. And here's the thing, this symbol that he's seen before, it was not an approved of one. So was it one that he saw at his school of like wizardry? Because aren't they rule followers there? Wouldn't they not follow and not worship gods? But this is a god of the arcane. This is a god of the arcane arts. So it wouldn't make sense for his non-magical family to have been following this person, would it? Like,
damn
does
you,
that
Liam.
make
Damn you.
sense? Like, there's like, where did was this iconography from the person who helped him at the institution, perhaps? Or like
went into the forbidden section of the library.
Yeah,
it's super interesting because like now that's a little puzzle of the
because
Caleb
it's
piece
a
that doesn't
little bit
fit.
unusual no matter where it came from. Like which one of these things did it come from? Because Trent could have shown him the symbol of the enemy so they could recognize and obliterate them, said King Sundew. That's true. But then why does he have a positive affinity towards it when he was so successfully brainwashed that he killed his own goddamn family? Like, why would he wanted this, and he clearly had a positive connection to it, and he didn't seem to have that with anything else from his training with Trent. So
FMA says, or it's the cleric who healed him.
Oh, that's what I said. That's what I meant when I said from the institution. I'm wondering if it was from the person in the institution that helped him. Yeah, that was my thought. That's the only one of those 3 situations that makes sense, because I do not think Trent would have talked about it like an unapproved god positively. I don't think his non-magical parents would have followed, because they were human, they were not elves, and they were not magical. They were not. This is an elven arcane deity. So like everyone's saying, I think it must have been from the institution is the most likely thing in my thought, but But that was one of the ones I thought was interesting and I hadn't really considered before. So
There he is. And we have Fjord pick up one of the weird chained guy, and toss it into the water because he's like, bleh. Which was going to now lead us into what we're going to talk about for the rest of this episode. He throws it in. Jester goes in. No, don't make people mad at us, and goes in, searching around, and finds that, but also finds. Oh, I can't get it up high enough.
Dustin's chest.
My chest. I was just laying in there waiting for him. Finds a strange cat's eye-like yellow orb with a notch carved in it. That we know was there because Caleb was getting a little bling off of detect magic in the pool itself.
But that was interesting because
Yeah.
it wasn't an arcane school of magic.
Yeah, I like how Matt was like, yeah, it's a magic that you don't recognize as being any of the schools of magic. And then Travis touches it.
Because you're gonna touch it.
Well, because
I forget who asked in chat. There was a question before. Do we think that the Murrow were worshipping it, or was it something that the smugglers bought in, or were the Murrow worshipping it before?
Yeah,
I think the smugglers had it with them because
I don't.
Well, let me say why. Let me say why, and then you can rebuttal, and then we can argue, and it'll be great. I think they did because Matt described how this safe house was here before, and the Marrow were separate. So that ruined my previous theory that I talked about before. So boo me. But they tunneled in to get at something. There was something the smugglers had that they wanted. And like, they don't want these boring other symbols. They don't want, like, they accidentally had this evil, dark depth, water, abysmal gods, that stone, and that was calling to Fjord. It was calling to them in the same way.
Which is why I think it was there before. I think one of them may have found it somewhere else along the water path, closer to the ocean, maybe. And through their caverns, it traveled with them, possibly, and it was saying, something maybe along the lines of consume, and they were trying to appease it, and they have been on the search for how to appease it, because they would have had to put the salt water there itself, possibly, or it could have done it for all we know, but
I think it changed the water to salt water.
I think it was there. I think it was there before, and they were searching for things to appease it.
Okay, so you think it was already there? They were already worshiping it in that like so they already had it, and then when they were looking for something in the safe house to like feed to it,
or do we know for sure that they actually went into the safe house specifically to
they dug into the safe house.
I know they dug into it, but there was a pool of water already there, wasn't it? I don't know how far that tunnel went before, is my thing. It might have just been a natural progression, and they were trying to expand their territory and needed to get into the swamp somehow, and this just happened to be where it led. Who knows?
All we know
I thought that Matt described it as like they actively, intentionally went into the safe house to get something.
That's how I thought he said it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure on it. That's why I'm asking. But I think they were looking for something to appease it.
Ooh, Metadoxy said the smugglers brought the stone in from the salvage of the wreckage of the ship that Fjord died on.
And I think it washed ashore and the Merle found it.
Well, now let's talk about what happens when Fjord touches it, so we can get a little context to all of the things that we just said. So Fjord, you can hear Matt whisper something to Fjord while Caleb's talking about waiting 10 minutes to identify things, and Matt was to Travis was like, you recognize. I mean, like, I didn't really make it out, but you recognize this orb. Because even when Matt was describing it, you could see the smile come across Travis's face. So he in the middle of casting Identify from Caleb, Fjord just goes out and touches it, and then that's when like everything hits the fan. His body goes cold. He is having a vision, and he's in someone else's skin. He's a human, in a really, what I pictured was a really cool leather coat with lots and lots of buckles. You can never have too many buckles on a coat. Holding the stone that he had just touched with a dead body before him. And we know that I don't know what my dog is doing behind the thing. And he sees that vision summon the falchion that Fjord now has. And we hear the voice that we know Fjord has heard say, potential. And then shoves the stone in himself and absorbs it.
Consume.
And we get another voice, consume. And he's exhausted, he falls down, and he looks at the pool and sees his reflection, and he sees the person that he knew as Vandrin. And then we hear the voice again say, reward. And the whole time the group is watching them, or watching Fjord reach over, touch it, grab it, shove it into his chest, and then like fall over the pool of water that they're in. And we're left with, oh my god, so much backstory. Do you want me to just kind of go over all of that really quick, and then we can just talk about the whole thing? Like who Vandrin is, or do we want to talk about?
Well, I was wondering, okay, we've heard potential and we've heard consume before, but had we heard reward before?
I don't
Reward seemed new to me.
think so.
I don't know. Maybe once,
Jack?
but it's definitely not the potential consume that has been
Repeatedly.
repeated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
What's
think
the
that-
reward?
The list I have is watching, potential, learn, grow,
learn.
provoke, consume, reward, and patience are the words that his patron have said to him.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I imagine it's another bit of the power, right? And this goes
Right.
into our theory whether or not it has been there all this time, or if it was being smuggled by the gentleman. If it was been there that whole time, then there's more than one of these, most likely, because we know Vandrin had one and he put it in himself.
Or it popped out when that happened and the Murrow got it.
Well, we don't know when.
We don't, no.
We kind of get a thing from Matt saying that you recognize him as being like younger, and so we don't know if there is just one or if there's more than one.
Well, because it said he took it off of the person, the former owner was who was
right.
playing in the puddle of blood. So it seems like a Dread Warlock Hexblade scenario to me, as I keep calling it, where this patron seems to be bouncing from person to person, using them up for their own reason, and then transferring to a new person.
True, but so then the thing is, like, Vandrin, later he talks about how he was on a ship, there was possibly some sabotage, Fjord went overboard, woke up with the falchion and the things, but not the eye, obviously, because whether Vandrin lost that way before then, or Vandrin had it, but, I mean, I think that... Well, because Matt did say that he recognized... No, never mind. That's not the thing. Because, like, how long had Vandrin had it? How long was Vandrin under the patron?
Yeah. He had no idea. Because he never saw any of that. Which could be interesting if somebody else did and recognized a change in Vandrin, and that was the whole sabotage. And that's why the boat was destroyed, because someone knew something fishy was happening and decided to take him out.
Well, yeah, that's a whole new aspect of... I mean, we now know a huge chunk of Fjord's backstory, which we didn't know.
So excited!
My god, the story with the bubbles was so intense.
I know!
So Good. Ah.
But now I know if I'm ever drowning, I blow bubbles and see which way they go.
Yeah.
Just don't blow all
It's
of
like
them at once.
he
Don't blow
said.
all of
Yeah.
them, though.
Yeah. It's like he said exactly. Like you don't want to.
Yeah, the way he was describing it and like getting like tossed and turned, like my mind had just this awesome picture of like that sea green color and a Fjord just kind of floating in it and losing track of which way was up and then just dying. Ugh. I mean, we learned a
Yeah.
big chunk, but then there's more questions because one, the eye, two, some sort of sabotage.
Yeah, that was what I was gonna say. I'm really interested. I assume we already had like with Fjord, we assume that going forward some of his story will be like learning more about his patron, learning more about his like backstory and past and powers and stuff like that, because it's all at the very beginning of the campaign, it's all new to him too. Like he's like, I'm new to this whole magic thing. This is like thing. But the sabotage, that's something that'll be like interesting to follow up on. Is he going to get to like figure that out? And how come no one insight checked him? Can I just say? Because he was like, I get it. Like, no, I don't. I take it back. Someone should have insight checked him. Because I'm like, was he a pirate? Because when he talks about himself, he's like, "Oh, we were just merchants." But isn't that kind of just kind of a cover story for pirates?
Yes.
Like,
We were independent merchants.
As someone who plays pirates often, yes.
I was about to say, I feel like you would know about this because you play pirates. So
some enterprising individualists who specialize in the ocean.
yeah, so just like I'm I hope that we start to see him investigating that more.
Yes.
I hope that his patron encourages him along the line of this mystery. Or even if he just does it himself. I don't care. I want him to like go become Detective Fjord.
Well, yeah, because
and like root out the mystery of who sabotaged, who exploded his boat. Why was it exploded, guys?
Well,
Why for?
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, the way Travis talked as Fjord about Vandrin was that this was a very dear person to him. Like this is a person that was that was kind to him when a lot of people weren't. Which kind of goes in, if he's a half orc, people aren't going to treat him nice at all.
Right.
And so this Vandrin took him in, and treated him nice. And like I really love that he has like this really strong, like brotherly bond with this guy and wants to know what happened because he doesn't know what happened. He remembers an explosion and he wakes up on a shore with no one, no wreckage, no nothing. Like, and yeah, I definitely want the patron, or even if it's just Fjord himself, like Jess said, to like track this down, find out what happened. No one likes a mystery in their own life.
Yeah, just like I just wanted someone to have insight checked him when he was like, I want to know if he was telling the truth when he was like, oh, we were merchants and we were sabotaged, and I can't possibly think of why. Like, what if like he's a pirate and he fucking knows who did it, and like, or just something like there's more to the story. I feel like Fjord is the one least likely to offer us up story. I think we've consistently seen him steer stories away from himself. Like, I feel like we've literally seen him, like, anytime something has come up that could be a segue into something about Fjord's background, or a question of like, oh, Fjord, did you come from there? What? He's like, oh, but look over there, guys. Look at that.
He's good at disguise and diversion. Like,
we know his voice is not his voice. Like, we know that's not his accent. He picked that up somewhere. He's putting that on for us. Like,
well, and it's funny that you do mention that, and I didn't even think about the insight check because I got so caught up in just listening to the story that, I mean, this is the group of people who insight check everything. And this is the one time that they don't insight check.
Neverwinter in chat or Nicholas said, I think they stopped doing insight checks because of bad rolls, because like that's very true, because when you do an insight check and you have a bad roll, then suddenly you fully believe a lie. Do you know what I mean? And like maybe you don't want to go on that path, because then it's harder to avoid, like, because later on if you haven't done that bad insight check, you can still be sort of semi-cautious. Like, you can still sort of be curious without being like, nope, I don't believe it. I already insight rolled this, and I know that I fully believe every bit of baloney he has fed me so far. Like, so I could see that being sort of like a thing. I could see why that might be him.
I just want to say, as an aside, the one cute little flavor to this whole Fjord kind of trying to explain what just happened when the group was all like, "What did you just do?" And he's just like, "Well, you know that when you could, when you're trying to do that, when you think you know this thing and it feels like it was a dream, and like a couple people go, yes, yes, and then Caleb goes, no."
No.
Or then when he was like, when you look in a mirror, or like you look and see your reflection, but that's not the person you see, and whatnot, and who else said yes to that? Not definitely said
Molly.
yes to that. Molly, that's right. Not and Molly both go yes, and then Caleb just goes no. And like
And
I loved.
Jester said no to that too. Jester said no to that too.
I just loved the Liam's.
It's like 50-50.
Like just straight like no. I'm really mad at you for touching something that we don't understand yet, and now putting it in your body. Like,
don't just put random things in your body. Do you need me to sing you the "Don't You Put It in Your Mouth" song? Because I will.
Don't you put it in your mouth.
Don't you put it in your...
Oh man, so many good things with Fjord.
All to Fjord.
All to Fjord. And now we have a bunch of new mysteries to solve from our lovely Mighty Nine. Is there anything anybody else wanted to talk about? Did we cover everything?
No, I think that's pretty much it. After that they sunk the safe house, right? They basically were like...
I had a joke for this earlier that I thought of. They literally drained the swamp, guys. They drained some of the swamp.
Oh, no! Dustin, no!
No?
They had their boom boom sticks.
Oh my god, the fighting over who had it.
Oh no! We missed one of the things during the Fjord. During the Fjord fight. Molly and him and the saltwater. And we have now yet another theory of our beloved theories. Fjord cannot, in fact, water breathe.
Oh gosh, how did we forget about...
That was so funny.
I take a breath in.
I love how happy Matt was to say, "You are drowning!" Like, he was so fucking happy. He was like, nope. Like, he knew that, like, everyone was so excited for this to be a possible freaking thing. And he was so happy to crush it. Like, he was so pleased.
Yep. I cannot water breathe.
Nope.
I don't are Bart Whale or Bart Mermaid anymore.
Nope. I think we kind of already knew, but yeah, now it's fully confirmed that like he's not part Triton, he is not part Marrow, he is not part nothing. He is
not water breather.
Not water breather.
Nope. Like most of us.
Yep.
Oh, and then the last little tidbit, as the episode closed with Fjord, his falchion in his hand got an upgrade.
Upgrade eye.
Got the eye sitting in the hilt.
Sword of Thundera, give me sight beyond sight.
Oh no.
Gross. A little creepy.
Also, we got a nice, really awkward hug from Bo and Caleb.
Yes.
I really love that.
Back to the disaster babies.
Looking
for approval. Looking for the approval from Fjord and Yasha.
I just love the fact that these guys are like trying to help them just be normal.
Yeah.
It's just so good. It's just so
totally
good.
Cool with fighting fish people, but you don't know how to give a hug.
Well, you know.
I love that. And I love that Caleb was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but just go with it. Just like our poor awkward trash fire babies are learning to be less on fire. Slightly. I just like that someone in chat just says that they hope the eye blinks.
Oh, so creepy!
Yes.
I know, I do like it too. I want to see it move around and watch people. Oh my god.
There's a weapon in one of the video games I played that has a whole series of skins that just has an eyeball in every one of them. It's so creepy.
There's a lot of weapons in WoW that have sort of tentacle genres to them that also have that
Yeah.
looking
Yeah, well,
eye.
Guild Wars too. So poor man.
Oh, speaking of which, the moment when Travis pretended to be like, they were like, what's happening? What are you doing? And he was like, let me tell you. And he was like, made like tentacle sounds and like motions with his arms. And Matt was just like, no, Travis, don't ruin the surprise.
I'm going to kill you all.
Yes. Speaking of wonderful tentacle fun, the group had it.
I need to be able to read my own handwriting better because I have other notes and I just don't know what this says.
I think
I think we got all the good salient parts. Aha!
There we go.
Salient.
I have something fine. Don't have no idea what that says. Salt Bay Cleric.
Yes.
Salt Bay Cleric. There was some nice little one-liners that came out of it.
I have one more beach left. Pew pew. Just like throwing
I'm
one out there.
sure that Matt will play that in the next time he gets to actually be a player in an online game. I hope so.
Sundu in chat mentioned Kiri stabbing the bodies with.
Kiri was just so cute this episode. Go fuck yourself. Fuck yourself.
That was adorable. It was so
I am
older cousin teaching little kids how to say bad words. Like that was 100% what I was thinking. This is what you say when someone says this. This is what you say when someone says this. And if you don't like it, you say, "Go fuck yourself."
Yep. I think.
Well, I think that's. I think we covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The weapons. The one sword used to be magical. That was interesting.
Yeah, they just had a hilt.
True.
It's just a hilt now,
just
right?
a hilt.
Yeah. Wonder what that was. That was. It was in a locked box too. Like, what was the gentleman doing with, like, traveling with that?
Some kind of artifact.
Collect interesting map.
I know, but like, it would be interesting, like, who it was going to and like.
I think it'd be interesting. I always think like those kind of things. Whenever he mentions artifacts and things, I was like, "Oh my god, please let it be something from the last campaign," and they just haven't caught on. Like, whose sword was it? Like, some magical item they actually had from the last campaign, and it's like, oh.
Yep, and then we get Summer's Dance, which is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited for that.
I hope they get in a fight quickly. Just not with any more of those Venom trolls, please.
No. Sundu also said about Sam finally remembering how to use his mage hand to do rogue stuff.
Oh yeah, at one point, I think was it Molly even said, "Did you check that for traps?" And like not just opened it and like something went whizzing by, just like
the dagger popped out of the chest.
Yep. Welp.
Nicholas mentions that someone wants to reassemble the magic sword, so
yep,
that would be cool.
That's what I was thinking too, Metadoxy. It reminded me of Aragorn's sword in Lord of the Ring because the way it was like cut off at the just like shortly after the hilt.
Maybe it is.
Yep.
Who knows? Yep. It's the magic of D&D.
They have to go find a ranger.
Yup. I am excited for more Fjord stories, more Fjordcast later on the later.
Always Fjordcast.
Yes. All Fjordcast all the time.
Thank you guys for chatting with us.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for hanging out.
Thank you, Jess, and thank you, Kate, for talking with me.
Thank you, Dustin, and thank you, Kate.
Thank you, Dustin. Thank you, Jess.
Oh, look at us. Okay, now everyone, let's just end it with like a really awkward hug.
Like, oh, let's go. Okay, bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Have a goodbye thing? Nope.